Someone stole meat from the fire last night. Everyone in the camp knows who did it. There were 20 witnesses. The thief is sitting right there, across the flames, eating the last of someone else's kill. And now 30 people are staring at him in silence. No sheriff is coming. No courtroom. No jail to send him to. Just 30 humans, one fire, and a decision that needs to be made tonight. What happens next is not chaos. It is not random. It is a system, one of the oldest systems our species ever built. And it works so well that you are still living inside a version of it right now. For 300,000 years, humans had no written laws, no judges, no prisons, no police force with badges and handcuffs. Nothing. And yet, somehow, human societies did not collapse into permanent violence. People cooperated. They shared food. They raised children together. They formed bonds that lasted decades. How?
The answer starts with something anthropologist Christopher Boehm spent his entire career studying. Boehm looked at hunter-gatherer groups across every continent, from the Arctic to Central Africa to the Australian outback, and he found the same pattern everywhere. Every group had troublemakers. Every group had people who took more than their share, who threatened others, who tried to dominate the people around them. And every group had a response. Boehm called it the reverse dominance hierarchy. The idea is simple. In a group of 30 people, one aggressive individual cannot bully 30 people at once, not if those 30 people decide to act together. So that is exactly what they did. The group united, and the group always won. But how exactly did they punish someone? What did that actually look like? It happened in stages, and each stage was more serious than the last. The first response to bad behavior was not violence. It was not even anger. It was mockery. Ancient hunter-gatherer groups used humor as a social weapon. If you took too much food, people started making fun of you at the fire. If you bragged too loudly about your hunting skills, everyone laughed when you missed a shot. If you tried to act like you were better than the rest of the group, you became the punchline. This sounds harmless. It was not harmless. In a small group of 30 people who you depend on for food, warmth, and protection, being the person everyone laughs at is genuinely dangerous. Your reputation is your survival. Lose it, and everything else starts to go with it. And the laughter was contagious. Once one person started, others joined. Before long, the entire group had silently agreed, this person is a problem. Anthropologists who have lived with modern hunter-gatherer groups, the San people of the Kalahari, the Hadza of Tanzania, the Jews/Hwanzi of Namibia, all report the same thing. Mockery and ridicule are the primary tools for keeping individuals in line. Not threats, not weapons, jokes. If you have ever been in a group of people who all quietly agreed you were the difficult one, you already understand how powerful this is. If the jokes did not work, the next stage was silence. The group simply stopped engaging with the problem person. No one shared food with them first. No one sat next to them. No one asked them about the hunt. Conversations stopped when they walked over. Robin Dunbar, the evolutionary psychologist at Oxford who gave us Dunbar's number, the idea that humans can only maintain about 150 meaningful relationships, spent years studying how gossip functions in human groups. Gossip did not evolve because humans are petty. It evolved because gossip was the most efficient law enforcement system ever created. When someone behaved badly in a small group, information about it spread instantly to every person who mattered. No memo required. No report to file. By the next morning, 30 people had already updated their opinion of you. Your reputation, your entire social credit score, had been recalculated overnight. And in a world where your reputation determined whether people helped you when you were sick, shared food with you in winter, or defended you when something threatened the camp, losing that reputation was not just uncomfortable, it was a slow emergency. If social exclusion did not change the behavior, the group moved to something much more serious.
Banishment. The troublemaker was told, not always gently, to go, to leave the camp, to find another group, or to survive alone in the wilderness. Here is the thing about being alone in the Paleolithic. The wilderness was not a romantic adventure. It was predators and cold and starvation. A human being alone, without fire, without hunters to bring meat, without others to watch their back at night, that person's life expectancy dropped to something very short. Banishment was not officially a death sentence, but it often functioned like one. And here is the detail that makes this even more interesting. The threat of banishment was usually enough. Most people, faced with the genuine possibility of being pushed out into the dark alone, found a way to cooperate. They apologized. They gave back what they took. They changed. The system worked not because punishment was brutal, but because the stakes were real. Everyone understood what exile meant. Nobody had to explain it. In rare cases, when someone had committed an act serious enough that the group believed no other option remained, something more permanent happened. Boehm documented this carefully across dozens of cultures. In extreme cases, hunter-gatherer groups made collective decisions to remove individuals who were considered an unrecoverable threat to the community. What is remarkable about this is not the outcome, it is the process. These decisions were never made by one person. They were not the choice of a chief or a leader acting alone. They required group consensus. Everyone had to agree. And this almost never happened easily or quickly. It was the last option, used only when every other stage had failed. In other words, the most serious form of ancient justice required more agreement, more deliberation, and more shared responsibility than almost any modern courtroom. So where did all of this go? The answer is agriculture. Around 10,000 years ago, humans stopped moving and started farming. Farming meant staying in one place. Staying in one place meant villages. Villages meant strangers. And strangers change everything. In a group of 30 people, you know everyone. You know who is trustworthy. You know who has a history of taking more than they give. You know who cried when the elder died and who did not. That knowledge is your legal system. But when your village grows to 500 people, you cannot know everyone anymore. You have not grown up with them. You do not know their history. Gossip still spreads, but it is no longer reliable. Rumors mix with facts. Reputations can be faked. The old system starts to break down. And so humans invented something new. Written laws, courts, judges, and eventually, police forces. Strangers hired specifically to do what the group used to do together. Every single one of those institutions is just the ancient system, scaled up and formalized. The courtroom is the circle around the fire. The judge is the group consensus, dressed in a robe. The prison is the exile, with walls instead of wilderness. Nothing actually changed. We just built architecture around the same impulses we always had. Today, you have access to the most sophisticated legal system in human history. Constitutions, appeals courts, international law, rights that exist on paper regardless of what any individual thinks of you. And the thing that still scares people most at work, at school, in relationships, is being excluded by their group. Not fined, not arrested, not sentenced, just quietly left out of the conversation. Because somewhere underneath everything we have built, the same ancient calculation is still running. Reputation is survival. The group decides. And being alone is the thing we fear more than almost anything else. We've built 10,000 years of civilization on top of that fear. And it is still working.